Cool, so in this video I am going to be speaking to a third year interior architecture student from the University of Westminster in London. He's also my friend, Tahir Mangara, and he basically reached out to me on message and asked if I could review his work, give him some feedback. If anyone else wants to get some feedback or review on their work, I do offer free crits, so you can send me a message and we can try to arrange that. I think this would be a useful video for anyone who might not know how architecture reviews or crits work. If you're interested in studying architecture, or if you're a veteran of architecture, maybe you can watch and see where you disagree with my feedback and leave a comment to give Tahir your feedback too. Or you might just be interested in seeing the design, the concept analysis, and maybe getting ideas or inspiration for reviewing your own work, or you might just get new design ideas anyway. Things did get a bit brutal, but generally speaking, I think it's much better to be honest with people than to kind of beat around the bushes. And ultimately, Tahir was very happy that we spoke truthfully, bluntly, and openly. But he's an amazing student. He's super creative. His ideas are incredible. And this process is really fun because we kind of break down the layers of understanding what he really wants from his design, aside from the fact of perhaps what he thinks the tutor wants to hear or what is, considered as good architecture. It was really fun to kind of get to that point of realization where he was like, that's exactly the way I want to push this project. Cool, so let's get straight into it. You're doing interiors? I thought you were doing architecture.
Interior architecture, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's going to change my stance a little bit, but yeah, go ahead. Share your thing.
So my project is about community, and the site I've picked is Trellick Tower in West London. And I picked the specific site just because where it's situated, it's quite a unique place in West London, where not far from Grenfell Tower as well. I started by looking at the statistics of the ethnicities and the main people in the area, and that was mainly North Africans, Arabs, as well as like Somalis and Asian. I looked at the history of the building, and it's quite a unique building because when it was built when tower blocks were just fading out in terms of social housing, and it wasn't, when it was in the media, it wasn't looked upon as a great thing. And the future, what happened was that from the 70s, 80s, and late early 90s, it was full of crime, drugs, people getting stabbed, etc. So in the 90s, it changed, and in the current time, what's happened is that the original residents are there, but because it's become a trendy building in London to stay, a lot of people are buying the flats and then maybe keeping it for a little bit, but then maybe renting it out. And so it's like you have two different demographics of the young trendy people as well as the natural residents of the building.
So you've heard of the term gentrification?
Yeah, gentrification.
So would you say this is gentrification?
Definitely.
Okay. You got a notebook, right? Like to make notes, maybe?
Yeah, I do.
Because I was going to say, if you go back one slide, because the history of this building is probably very rich.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bloody unique building. And you did mention earlier to me that you're interested in specifically, specific aspects of this building. For example, the little kind of, whatever that little, jutting out structure is at the top.
Yeah, currently it's a boiler room.
That's okay, brilliant. So I was going to ask you if you reckon it'd be worth maybe bringing in some actual kind of historical research on the aspects that you've kind of taken interest in. For example, what you've now told me is a boiler room.
Yeah.
Why it was designed in the way it's designed. Where's the kind of inspiration coming from? What significance that has? So I would say in terms of just this history page, one thing that might be good for your portfolio, because I assume you're presenting what will eventually be a portfolio.
Yeah.
and what will also just be good for your design generation and your design ideas
Mhm.
is getting specific historical background on, aspects of this building that really interest you. Because to get a general history, you could say, okay, I'm going to get a general history of the area, or I'm going to get a general history of, how the building came about to be, or whatever, right? But if you're doing a bit more kind of specific research,
Mhm.
it's going to be a bit more intentional when it comes to the design.
Okay.
So yeah, tell me about the boiler room thing. So how do you know that's a boiler room, and why the hell is it there?
When I was doing my research, I found pictures of the boiler room, and it's only a few because you can't really get access to it. So it's just through research that I found out it was a boiler room. It wasn't put out on the internet that it was. I think in early 2015, an architecture firm, I think Hawkins, and I can't remember which one, they had plans to refurb the building itself with the windows, etc. And that picture was included as part
That'd
of
be
this
really
design
useful
statement.
to bring in.
Yeah.
Just for anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, you rub your mouse on it, on the area. Yeah,
Right.
it's that. Do you have any pictures of that later?
Of the actual room, or
Of just close up?
I do, I believe.
Okay, so go to that quickly. Because I just think getting, because the way you framed it to me when we first talked, it was you took deep interest in the kind of compositional makeup of this building.
Yeah.
You were talking about it like, okay, I want to put something there, I want to put something at the bottom, I want to put something here.
Yes, it's on the left-hand side.
It'd be interesting to kind of get to know why. I mean, does it not intrigue you why they put a bloody boiler room on the
Up top, yeah,
on the
it's
top
true.
of this kind of detached tower?
No, I agree with that.
It's bloody intriguing. I have no idea why they would do such a thing. I mean, from what I can think, like the utilities of that building are probably going to have to take up a lot more than that little room. So it's a strange thing.
That's
But
a very
anyway,
valid point.
that was just
Yeah.
a quick note. Please continue from where you were, man.
No, it's okay. Yeah, so I was looking at their residents, the current residents, etc. So it's about the history of the building and what it's becoming. So I was just looking at the history of the actual area as well. From
Sorry,
when it was.
the whole interior has been revamped, has it? It's all proper nice on the inside.
No. So there's still the residents from years ago, but they plan to stay, and it's quite like a homely environment. Whereas like new residents have like changed it up a little bit, keeping the existing concrete and then adding their own interiors and with their own touch. And actually, this property sold not too long ago as well, but that could be like to profit from that as well. So that's
Right. So it's not a developer-led kind of rejuvenation. It's you're just saying that people are coming in, buying the flats, and they're just redoing them up. But the people who are now kind of flocking to this are the kind of trendy hipster types who probably higher up on the economic ladder, and therefore it's starting to push the low economic status people out.
Yeah.
But there still are low economic status people within the building?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not social housing, is it?
It was, I believe.
It must have been.
Yeah, it was part of Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea, and
social housing.
Yeah.
And it's not social housing anymore, or part of it is?
I think part of it is.
Okay.
Part of it is, yeah. Yeah, so I was just looking at the area, what it was before and what it's becoming. And especially in London, we've looked at how everyone knows how London has developed just under 10 years, and like we see the developments coming up next to the areas, etc. as well. So that's what I took into consideration. This is part of the Cheltenham estate and the surrounding area. This was just to see what is surrounding it, where the current canal is, where everything is located. So this is the original buildings, what it contains, and the main aspect here is the current concrete, the concrete that's part of the building.
Do you know who designed it?
Erno Goldfinger.
Goldfinger. That
Yeah.
rings a bell.
Yeah. It was right. He's right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, carry on.
No, that's right. Yeah. So this is just the current plans sections of the building. Just like so. And one of the main bits is the details he's incorporated in the building, and a lot of like stained glass in the building. It's quite a unique touch. So I'll bring you to my statement. So
before you come to that statement, or you might be doing this anyway, what's your summary of all of that contextual analysis, or is this what you're coming on to?
This is what I'm coming on to, hopefully. Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, that's right. So when I was looking through, before I even started this project, I looked at one thing I want to approach is the community, but part of that is crime. Like London, we've seen like pre-COVID, we've seen like how people have died from stabbing, etc., and most of them have been young people involved in that. And what I try to approach, what I try to take from it is what can help young people. And I found that boxing is a discipline sport, and having a gym is quite. We don't see boxing gyms on top of buildings, which I'll come to my design. And I wanted to change that in terms of how from people from all ages can come together, train as well, and people can learn from each other through a disciplined type of way. And
before you continue, I'm going to say something, yeah? Like friend to friend. Explain your proposal and your project to me, like as if you're explaining it to yourself in your head, not as if you're explaining it to, like a tutor or like a critique. Explain it to me as if you're like, I'm thinking about this idea, but I don't know if it makes sense in my head yet, so I'm just going with it right now. Do you know what I mean? Do you get me?
Yeah.
Because what we do as architecture students is we make a decision, we make a bold decision, and then we're like, oh, I'm going to post-rationalize it, and I'm going to defend it when they say, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
We're just wired to do that in architecture school.
Yeah.
But sometimes if you come to the tutor and you're like, look, I don't fucking know why I'm putting a boxing gym on the top of the building. I didn't think it through. You know what I mean? If you say that, they'll be like, look, okay, we're gonna address that. But if I don't know, I might be wrong. Maybe you have thought that through completely.
Yeah.
But tell it to me as if, there's no judgment. This is just like friend to friend type thing, because it is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And like that's how it was. Like when I approached my tutor, I'm saying like I want to put a boxing gym.
Yeah.
On the upper 3 floors.
Yeah.
And a tea house in that little bit. I was just that's how I put it. And she was like, oh, yeah, like I really like it.
Okay.
I really like that idea. So I wanted to put a boxing gym on the upper floors because I feel like it'd be very unique. Usually boxing gyms are at the bottom or of that, like a house type. So I wanted to put a boxing gym on the upper floors and a tea house.
Wait, before you go tea house, you said it's unique.
Yeah.
Is that a good enough reason? Bro, I could say I put a bouncy castle on the roof because it's unique. Yeah. Is that going to stand as like a sophisticated architectural kind of narrative, or to say something's unique? I mean, you know better than me already as well. Like in terms of narrative, like creating a narrative for your project,
Right.
you know, there, there's something deeper. There's like a story, or there's like
Yeah.
a kind of almost like a speculative vision, like a large vision, and then the architecture or the programs or these things kind of, they start to slot into that vision.
Yeah.
And I know you've explained, obviously, you know, you want to address the crime. Obviously, I love the idea of a boxing gym anyway, because it's sounds like it'd be contextually very appropriate. But in terms of how you connect your narrative, which sounds like it's still in its infancy, right? Because you said it was still, this is
Yeah.
still the beginning, right?
Yeah.
In terms of connecting your narrative to an architectural proposal, there's constantly going to be a back and forth, i.e. you're going to have to continue to refine your narrative, and then you're going to have to continue to refine, you know, your architectural proposal. So that's a side point. The idea of a gym going on the top floor just because it's a unique idea, you know, that doesn't stand.
Yeah.
So is there any other reason? You can say there isn't, if there isn't. This is what I mean.
There is.
Yeah, go on.
There is, but so when I was I think I saw was a building. I think I've got my precedent actually. Yeah, it's a white collar factory actually, in I think Old Street, and they had a running track, and I thought that was amazing. Like you can be working in the building, but then if you want to, on your lunch break, you can run upstairs, and then there's a cafe there, on just right here. And I thought, like, what if I can do that? Like, where there's a vacant space, where a space on like the upper floors might not be in use as much, I can use that to a benefit. And I thought just having a boxing gym where my site is, it's like you're going. It's like you're going to the boxing gym on the upper floor through the lifts. So you're going up the lift, and then you feel like I'm ready. Like it's that process of like I'm going up, and then just like I'm ready to change. Like I'm ready to change. I'm ready to fight. Like I want that feeling to happen. That's how I feel.
Interesting. So was that part of your original idea?
No, it was, but I haven't worded it correctly.
Okay, because that's a very interesting concept, but that starts to really bring in. So in some ways, you're talking about the journey, like the journey up to the boxing gym is as part of the experience of the whole boxing thing anyway. So the idea that the journey of getting up to this gym, you know, you might create some sort of experiential aspect to that elevator journey upwards.
Yeah,
where it's, you know, somehow they tie that in with the feeling of, okay, I'm rising up, I'm elevating myself, and I'm going to reach the top, and I'm going to fight, and there's something psychological there.
Yeah,
that's
like that. It's like the last bit in you know, when Rocky runs up the steps, and he gets to the final bit, and he's like, like pushes it. It's just like that action, that feeling of, I've done it. Like,
it's interesting. I never knew you were thinking about it in that way. But I will say this, in terms of a concept like that being strong and being legible and working, it's got to be emphasized. It's got to be the focal point of the entire project, in my opinion. Right. It can't just be something that's lost in the project, and whenever somebody asks you, why is your gym on the top, you just say, oh, it's about this elevator journey. And they were like, okay, but have you showed that? Is that, you know, at the end of the day, it's like a design proposal. Your design proposal should kind of, you know, conveniently, efficiently represent your idea. So what I'm trying to say here is, if that is your narrative, go 100% into that narrative. Don't let it be like a 50%, 40% post-rationalization type thing. Go full in. Say, look, this is all about the journey to the top. and maybe the name of the gym is Journey to the Top or something.
Right.
And then suddenly you're like, now that's your narrative. You're going to really, really push that narrative. And suddenly you start to come up maybe with like speculative business plans of the Journey to the Top gym, Journey to the Top, the JTTT gym or something. And it's like, you make a logo for it and you do something. Do you know what I mean? Like it's about pushing a strong narrative.
Right.
And this isn't critique because this is a thinking out loud session. So this is a good opportunity for you to just throw ideas and not be precious about them. And for us to be able to say, look, that's probably a shit idea. Let's not go for that. Okay, there's something there. Let's push for that. So keep that in mind. I don't know if you want to note that down or just keep it in your head. But the idea, what I'm trying to say for you to note down is just, if you're going to bring an idea like that, what you're talking about is it's a phenomenological idea. It's the idea of experiential elevator taking you up to a gym that has some sort of symbolism within it.
Yeah.
You're now venturing into the world of kind of experiential sort of symbolic architecture.
Yeah.
And how do you have to then bring up precedents for that? Look at examples of how people have achieved that, or maybe, if you want to be really novel in your approach, think about it from like a diagrammatic perspective, because all I'm seeing as soon as you said that is a spatial diagram in my head where you've got the top of this building as a kind of mass and then attached coming down as a kind of spine, and that spine is the elevator shaft coming up.
Yeah.
And that in of itself, what I just described, that could be a serious drawing, and that is the drawing that expresses this idea. And by the way, I'm a strong kind of what's the word? I like to push forward the idea of thinking through drawing.
Okay.
And thinking through drawing is something I'm really, really passionate about. And the whole point of thinking through drawing is to say, I have an idea, and it's almost this intangible idea in my head, what you've described, because no drawing, no diagram, so far, forgive me if it's coming out,
that's right,
describes and shows that concept. Yet it seems to be a key core concept of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So you need to get in your sketchbook and you need to do the rough, dirty, powerful sketches that are full of mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to do them confidently and bring them in your sketchbook and say, look, here's this journey to the top idea I've been exploring. And it becomes part of your archive. It becomes part of your design diary. Right. And it's there for you to see. You're like, oh shit, it's a good idea actually.
Yeah.
And how do I iterate it to the next version?
Right.
So those are the points I want to make. Secondly, about this precedent you're bringing in, it's interesting, right? There's always comes a point in a project, I feel, where you have to make the decision, and it might be different for interiors. I'm not sure. So if I'm going off on an architectural rant, tell me to shut up and tell me how it is, because I don't know of the kind of main differences with interior architecture. But there always comes a point, a junction, where you say to yourself in a project, am I going to go down the speculative, fantastical route, fiction?
Yeah. Or
am I going to go down the really logistic, realistic, pragmatic route? The way you're showing me things, the way you're describing things, you want to address real world problems, crime, etc. You want to address real world. You're showing me real world precedents where if you were to find out why they put the jogging track at this level, you'd probably end up with a very boring, pragmatic reason of why it has to be there. It's probably because they didn't have any scope to do any ground amenities. And they probably were like, oh shit, let's just do some fancy thing on the top. It's brilliant. It's AHMM. So, do you know what I mean? Like the way you are going now, it's as if it's a real world solution. And you probably noticed this as well. In architecture school, they want you to be as imaginative as you can and fantastical, fictional, because when you push yourself in those parts of your, those realms, when you push yourself in those realms, you unlock crazy visions, and the university benefits from it as well. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, these are great. No work has gone to waste, especially if you've archived it in some way.
Yeah.
But start to think about where you want to go with this, and have the confidence to say, actually, if I am pushing the fictional stuff, I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna go hard. I'm gonna be crazy. And there's a level of freedom and craziness where if you want to just go for it, and you're like, okay, I'm making an experiential kind of elevator, new branded gym that's gonna create a whole new world of ways of solving antisocial behavior in the area, and maybe these little parasitic kind of spinal nervous system things, i.e. a boxing gym and its spine elevator. Maybe that is the brand of this company, which is the JTTT company, which then suddenly goes and sits and grafts on loads of buildings. And it becomes a social initiative, like a social enterprise, where any building that needs to have, provide amenities for the low economic status people, this spinal nervous system cord parasite structure will go and graft on top of it. And suddenly you're now doing a vision where you're looking at the city of London with all these crazy grafts on top, where that's just the JTTT gym brand. And it's a way of making a kind of statement that the lowest economic status, the lowest of society, are being elevated to the top.
Right. See, when I initially thought of the idea, it was just I didn't really think it through, as in, like, I had it in my head and then I thought, I'll stop at that, but I didn't know how to continue it.
Do you know why?
Why is that?
Because you don't think through your drawing.
Mm-hmm.
I did the same stuff. I recognize that it's like you come to a point where you're like, you've thought about this idea so deeply and you're like, oh, I can't go any further. That's my project. That's it. Done. And then you're just like, how do I rationalize this? How do I talk about it? Let me do some research, and then I can just tell people about it. Eventually I'll start doing CAD drawings, and you're like, that's recipe for disaster projects. It's so normal though, so just remember that. This is why thinking through drawing is so important, because as soon as you have the idea and you're like, oh, I don't know where else it's going to go, you need to sketch it.
Right.
And it can be a shit sketch. It can be a diagrammatic thing. It can be abstract. You can make up your own symbols. You can make up everything. Drawing, take joy in it, man. So yeah, I don't want to keep ranting, but hopefully there's some valuable.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much. So this is my other precedent as well. This was a tea house in Vancouver.
How does the tea house relate to the boxing gym? Because the narrative,
So it's two parts to the proposal. The tea house is for the community itself, the building itself, and that's the reason is to start conversation. So for people in the community, the building itself, the tower block, to start a conversation where, I think I said this to you before, where that feeling of community has been lost in current times, where before, like people living in tower blocks, as well as like your road, wherever you live, you would know that person and you would speak to them. I feel like that's been lost in like the current age where people are working more. And I've continued this on my other precedents. It was a novel, a book by, what's his name again? Ray Oldenburg, and his, I can't see that, but his idea was having the third place, and home and work is first and second, and the third place is where you go to a cafe, maybe work out in a gym, or maybe go get your hair done, the barbershop, etc. Post office example. So it's all about the engagement between and a sense of place between other people. And I'll just continue. I'll go back to the boxing gym. This was the movie, the French film La Haine, where it was boxing is a form of getting out of the ghetto. And I feel like when I watched this film, it was quite impactful film, where people living in the youth living in that community stay together and the means to get out. Yeah. So, this was just looking at the statistics of the crime in the area, and there's actually a boxing gym about 7-minute walk from my current site, but you had to cross the bridge, etc. So yeah, I was looking at the benefits of boxing, about how demanding it is, what it can do and it has an emphasis in discipline and self-care.
You know,
Mhm.
sorry, carry on. I won't
No,
interrupt you.
sure, that's right. If you want to comment, it's fine.
How do you want me to be? Do you want me to be brutal, or do you want me to be
Be
like
brutal.
a bit
Be brutal. No.
careful
You
for
rather
your
be honest. You rather be honest.
Okay, go back.
Mhm.
I'll say the tea house idea makes very little sense to me.
Okay.
It doesn't seem like it fits into your narrative at all. I can see where the idea was conceived from and the inception came from. This idea of addressing the crime and community, and it starts to become really generic now. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like you're talking
Okay.
about crime, community, and you're like, okay, what can I throw in there? Boxing will tackle that. Oh, what else is good for crime and community? I know interaction. Okay, what do we do? Let's put that place for interaction. And
Yeah.
where can we put it? Let's put it in the top where there's a room.
Right.
What does the room remind me of? I don't know. Let's think architecture or Japanese architecture. Tea room. Let's put a tea room there. Let's make it a tea room. I apologize if that's not the way you did it and you put a lot of thought into it. I'm being brutal and saying how it comes across to, and I'm playing the worst critique.
Yeah, no.
Because if you can please the worst critique, you've got a sick project.
Yeah.
So that's me. I'm being the worst critique.
That's okay.
Okay, so I'm saying at the stage you introduce a tea house, it feels detached. It feels like the narrative is now becoming diluted.
Okay.
You've talked about this boxing gym idea, and then, if we skipped the tea house stuff and we went to that film, I actually feel like that film elevates your concept. And now we're getting deep into something even more deeper with that boxing idea. And maybe there's something, because the boxing idea on its surface can seem like a very simple idea, but when you bring that film out, there's something that's investigating it deeper. So the richness of that boxing idea is now becoming a bit more promising, I think.
Right.
So the next thing I was going to say is, if you go next, by the way, I don't know I guess maybe you want to watch this back and take notes later, just so you can be absorbed or whatever. But if there's anything you want me to kind of repeat or anything, let me know. Or you want to ask me questions, let me know.
Cool.
So this page, I don't think people need to know why boxing is beneficial for people with antisocial behavior, like people in antisocial behavior neighborhoods, or to address crime. I think maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's just because we know that probably would help.
Yeah.
And maybe some people don't, but I assume most people do know. However, even if the worst critique, quote unquote, doesn't know that, your movie proves it, because you could take snippets of that movie and say, look, it's known in culture that boxing is a great way to get youths onto discipline and responsibility, and there's a kind of paternal, kind of spiritual aspect to it as well.
Yeah. Okay.
So the way in which you try to prove boxing is beneficial doesn't have to be this really scientific thing.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like, doesn't have to be like, say, no other sport is as physically demanding. Switch off. Man switched off when they read that, because it's like I'm being, sold about the sport of boxing.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I would lose this page completely.
Okay.
I would try to prove your concept through some sort of creative way or artistic way, and the movie is a great way that you did. So, sorry, go to the next one.
Yeah.
So this is the same thing, right? You're proving.
Same thing. Yeah.
Look,
And
there's probably loads of work that went into this. That there could be a way you repurpose this research in a way that is more convincing, but it's not just convincing, because, as I said, I don't think people need convincing. I think you could repurpose this to bring in some sort of creative elements as well. For example, if you're saying boxing is beautiful, it's an integral part of human history, it's the first way. Show us architectural elements of the earliest boxing gyms, and what do they incorporate into it to imbue the kind of feeling of boxing being, let's see, the sweet science or its violence training. So, it being a methodical, tactical thing. So yeah, how does boxing imbue a sense of power but responsibility into people? What does it have to do with the architecture and the way the gym is designed? Is it something to do with it being bang in the center with lights flashing down at it, and suddenly they're in center stage and they get to release their anger? These are really interesting aspects of boxing that one would not think about.
Yeah.
Whereas what you're presenting is just the obvious scientific dry stuff.
Right.
You get me?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
So, carry on, sorry.
That's okay. Oh, so this is looking at tea culture.
Yeah, you can still, if you think you want to fight the case, then do it.
Mm-hmm. So this was just looking at where tea, how people have tea around the world. More the main areas such as China, India, and in Japan, Turkey, and Morocco. It's just the way people have tea, and so it's a very much community aspect around it.
Okay, so before you tell me about the tea now, now what's your thoughts on the tea thing? And don't just give in to my brutalness.
Yeah.
If you want to back it up and do it.
Like, I'm a big fan of tea. I know this is my own way. Like, I've been to Morocco, Turkey, and it's, when your friends, and when you see the surrounding people next to you, you see that warmth when you have tea. That process, for example, like in Morocco, when you grab your mint and then you have that ceremony of the tea going up as well. You feel, I don't know, there's something about having tea. I think it's a comfort, and definitely, like in terms of the UK, like when people come together, I say, "Do you want a cup of tea?" It's that way of saying, let's gather, let's like come to mine, and we can discuss over a cup of tea. And for me, that's what I'm trying. Well, my idea is to trying to bring that conversation starter to discuss an issue, maybe, or just have a general chat.
Brilliant. What's its relationship with boxing?
So that was one of my ideas, as in following the Moroccan aspect. Now, I was looking at the Japanese way of aspect, where it's more of a ceremony, and it's a process of making the tea. It's a ceremony of you going to the person who's making the tea and then sipping it. And I was following that through in terms of like when you're boxing, maybe you try and like if you're not doing good, you maybe have a cup of tea.
Say that again. If you're boxing,
if you're not doing that good, maybe in terms of you're not in terms of you're not feeling good, in terms of your performance ain't that good. You go and have a ceremony.
But if you, sorry, is that?
Yeah, that's okay. No,
if you were a boxer, would you do that? Would you, in the
Depends.
middle of your training, say, "Oh shit, this training session's not going well. Fuck, I need a cup of tea."
Oh, it's green tea specifically.
Be straight with me, man. Come on. Be
Nah.
straight.
No, you wouldn't. But maybe. You know.
Look, it seems like you've got two good ideas.
Mm-hmm.
You've had two separate ideas, and you're trying to bring them together, and it just that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Do you see why that doesn't make sense though, or do I have to explain?
No, it does.
You see why that doesn't make sense?
Yeah.
I completely get your intention that you're trying to bring in another aspect to this boxing thing. But think about it if you were a boxer, your tea, do they go together? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, if there is something, like for me, what I'm trying to say here is, the boxing idea is strong.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need the tea.
Okay.
It's like the most opposite things on the spectrum that you're trying to bring together here. And I'm trying to get into your thinking of like how this happened, and correct me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And it probably was that you had these two ideas. You're trying to post-rationalize this idea of like, you see this opportunity in that tower. You thought about the idea of like how you reduce crime. You thought about, actually, I want to do something that's going to build community conversation and interaction. The way you could do that is, okay, let's think about historical. You know what I mean? Your lines of thinking are all good, really good. You know, you're going into the historical research. You're going into thinking about architectural references here. You're thinking about how you apply it to the building. But you've just got two things that I don't think are ever going to work together.
Right.
And the question now is, do you need to have two things, or can you really emphasize this one thing? Because I would say to you at this junction, choose one.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Make it an interaction, public kind of thing, or stick to this idea of creating a boxing gym that, you know, is a journey to the top thing.
Right.
That's my take on it. But what are your thoughts? What's going through your head?
You much you said like you are working with two different things on the spectrum. Obviously, one being a boxing gym, one being a tea room. Like, if you can create that relationship, like, I'll hear you out. But obviously, I haven't had a tutorial yet.
Your cheer sounds so nice.
She is very nice. But yeah, that's what it is. Do
you think you can make that work? Because the way you presented it now, to my ears, it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine a boxer in the middle of a session going, "Fuck, this is a shit session. I need to get myself a Twinings green tea." It sounds like an advert, like a silly advert. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'll be brutal because, you know, it's friend to friend, but you know, like, if there's an element to the community side that you want to bring in on top of that project, and an interaction thing you want to bring on top of that project, I think let that emerge naturally. Leave that, put that in the back burner for now. Try to really hone down on this boxing concept.
Okay.
Because I think if we go back to the fundamental concept, someone really, really wise said to me, you know, they won all sorts of awards, you know, drawings and architecture, best architecture student or whatever.
Yeah.
They said, like, you know, I was asking them, how do you know, it's in my podcast. It was actually episode 2, sorry, on my podcast with Eric Wong. I asked him, like, what, you know, how do you come up with such a strong concept? And the concept that he was coming up, like, by the way, please also make sure you're going and checking out other people's work, like proper nice projects. Look at where their concept was conceived from. Check out episode 2 from my podcast as well, like, just because he explains things from its fruition, from its very beginnings. You know, there could be a novel that inspires you to come up with a narrative.
Yeah.
There could be, you know, because what you've done is you've thought about this kind of concept of the, you know, I'm going to solve fix the crime or the bad things in the society, and
Mhm.
then you end up with a very generic architectural proposal. But if you have something that is a lot more deeper as a concept to inspire your ideas later, you end up with a really rich concept.
Yeah.
So like I love the fact that you got that film. Yeah, that film
Yeah.
is. I would love to kind of I would love for you to storyboard that, explain the deep concepts in that. Explain why these kind of people are benefiting from that boxing, from the boxing itself. Is
Yeah.
boxing itself a ritual that you talked about ritual? Ritual is a
Yeah.
very strong theme to bring into architecture concepts, because ritual is all about the deeper behavior of humans and how it relates to the environment. It's a beautiful thing to bring into a concept. You think about if you storyboarded what boxing training is, a day in the life of a boxing person training,
Yeah.
and you did it maybe storyboard using the movie, still shots from the movie, storyboarding what happens, and you start to kind of deconstruct why and how boxing has such a powerful effect based on its ritual. Perhaps there's a walk to the gym, to the area, that journey to the gym. Yeah, perhaps then there's a element of you have to take your clothes off and start to put in your gym gear. Perhaps then there's a process of, okay, I'm going to start wrapping my hands. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is that? What does that mean? How does that make people feel? What's the significance of that? What's the history of that? What's the purpose of that? Then there's an element of putting the glove on, and suddenly you feel the tightness of that fabric. And also, as far as I know, in boxing, you can't tie your own gloves up. You can't wrap your own hands.
Nah.
You have to have someone else.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful part of the ritual.
Yeah.
Suddenly that person feels, I have a partner. I have a comrade. There's a brother here for me, or a sister here for me, who's going to give me strength in my hand, tighten my fist. Suddenly the laces pull, and I'm feeling that power now already.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a ritual to boxing.
Mm-hmm.
Gloves are on. Maybe they put a bit of Vaseline, eyebrows.
Yeah.
Maybe they put the mouth guard in. Yeah. Put head guard in. And then the most powerful thing of all, they fight. But training is sparring. So you're trying to hurt somebody in a non-hurtful way.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful journey. What I've just described is already a journey. You've talked about the journey to the top. You've talked about the ritual. I think a really strong exercise for you to do is to deconstruct the ritual of boxing and try to relate that somehow to your architectural proposal. And you can start to, once you have the drawings to support that concept, once you have the diagrams to support that concept, you're starting to create a really strong body of work.
Mm-hmm.
Lose the tea house.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts now?
Nah.
What are you thinking?
It makes so much sense. Like, I think, I'll be honest, I feel like me as a student, I've always been, not always, but like, I had this idea. I feel like, should I do this or should I hold back? And most of the times it's hold back. Because I think maybe I'm scared to push that idea. No. So I don't think it's about confidence. Well, actually, partly. It's more of, in your mind, it's like, do I? And if you pass that do I, that's when obviously your idea further develops. But usually for me, it's always been, it's that hold back, that let me just stay restricted and stay within my comfort zone. Yeah. So yeah, I feel like
I'm here to tell you, man, your ideas are brilliant. You have a sick mind on you. You're creatively genius. You got to be confident enough to just be like, you're lucky you have a nice tutor, bro. You could have had a tutor who said your ideas are shit. You don't pursue any of that. You're on the wrong track. Do this, do that. They're telling you what exactly to do, right? Yeah. And then those tutors are actually a blessing, because then they might empower you to be like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to do it like this. But there's a fine balance in taking somebody's brutal honesty and brutal kind of criticism and just
take all the judgment and ego or whatever, the kind of nervousness away. And just be like, look, what's this person trying to tell me? Why is this important? Okay, yeah, obviously I haven't been thinking in this way, this, that. Okay, that makes sense. I'll do it. So it's a balance. But the main thing I'm saying here is, yes, have the confidence. Have the confidence to do what you want. University is your playground. The people who stand out are the ones who push the boundaries and they do exactly what they believe in and what they want to do. Listen to the people around you. You won't even know whether they will, because your mind's telling you, oh, if I do that, they're going to be like, what the fuck are you doing? But maybe you've done the opposite, and you've done what you think people want, and now there's a guy like me telling you what the fuck you're doing. You know what I mean? So you can't win either situation. Best thing to do is push yourself to do what you want. And by all the sounds of what you're telling me, you don't want to do the tea room.
Nah.
So push the boxing thing.
Yeah.
That sounds like you passionate telling me about the boxing thing. And, it's so unique. It's such a unique idea. If you can push it architecturally, it's a bloody unique idea. I was going to tell you, I wasn't even sold on the boxing thing being on the top. I thought that was silly. But then you explained it's the journey to the top, and I'm like, bang, there's a unique idea there. It's a narrative that if you can really, really take ownership of that narrative, something beautiful can come from it. So what do you think about what I said about deconstructing the ritual? Because there's something really powerful there, I think.
Definitely. It's
Does that movie show people like the ritual, the boxing side of things?
It's more of his the boxer's friends. I wouldn't say it's a ritual in that specific film. I'll say Rocky will show more, definitely. But for me, for that film specifically, is staying out of crime.
Yeah, dude, by the sounds of it, you can have 5 or 6 films or 5 or 6 novels or 5 or 6, creative kind of arts or whatever, like a movie, like some sort of literature, some sort of TV show, whatever, something deep, something that has substance. I think movies are good. Where you start to break down the sequence, and you start to break down and you're starting to prove through your portfolio that boxing is a ritual. You want to understand that ritual because you recognize that ritual is what saves people from doing crime and saves people from, I'll be honest with you, from what I know, it fills in the paternal role because, you're getting into a gym and you're under the kind of male patron kind of leadership, and a lot of the people who are going into these gyms have absent fathers, and they have, from at least what I know. So there's something really strong there. Maybe you can just be bold about that and say, look, the research shows people in these areas have a high percentage of absent fathers. Here's your science coming in. And therefore this shows that, boxing has this amazing paternal spiritual ritual to it, where people who come into it get kind of adopted by a paternal figure, and that paternal figure is this gym that's teaching you responsibility and teaching you how to fight, teaching you control, teaching you how to control your anger, all these things. So there's a lot there, and I think the real beauty of this project is the idea of ritual, and you've talked about it with the tea room. So just bring that same level of kind of interrogation for ritual into the boxing.
Okay, cool.
I think of the movie Warrior. Deep movie. It's not boxing, it's MMA, but still, I would have loved, I could imagine love seeing pages you do where, you've got 5 films and you're breaking down the ritual in each film and showing the similarities. Maybe there's an interview of Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury talking about how boxing saved their life and what it was about the boxing that saved their life. I know Tyson Fury has talked about that. It's a beautiful thing. I'm a male, so I'm getting up listening to this shit. Maybe females do as well. But I can only speak from my point of view.
Let me see. this was just a little mind map, just taking the route of understanding the building and what I can do with it. Maybe I'll focus on the right hand side. Don't forget the T room now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was just looking at the nearby schools and just seeing what I can maybe create, like routes I can take for the gym. Maybe creating an arena on the roof, or what I can do. So I'll just show that through drawings.
By the way, go back to that mind map. That's literally your brain. That's literally your brain. Do you see it? Can you see what I see?
Hopefully, yeah.
There's no foundational structure here. There's no hierarchy of thought.
Yeah.
There's no narrativization.
Yeah.
It's one idea there, 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 one idea there. And then these two things have clouds around them and they're clashing.
Right.
And they don't meet. The yellow doesn't mix with the blue. You got no green.
Right.
Because they don't mix.
Yeah.
And then you got your thinking is just boom, put the towers in the middle. How do I throw this stuff into the tower? Boom, boom. You get what I mean now?
Yeah, I do.
And this is not a criticism. I don't make criticisms really. I just, what I'm trying to do is just be as honest as possible.
Yeah. I'd rather have honesty than anything, because you just know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Would you rather? Yeah, exactly. And look at this. If you didn't do this drawing, maybe now you wouldn't see why these things don't work in your head. It's a beautiful thing that you did this drawing. And this is why I emphasize thinking through drawing. Any idea you have, even if it's planning or mind mapping, draw it like you did there. Do the same thing with the architectural design ideas in your head. Let it be as rough, let it be as diagrammatic.
Okay, cool. So this was just like initial collage of the boxing gym. Maybe like orientation. Again, don't worry about the bottom now, because that's the tea room. But yeah, it was just I was thinking, was creating a boxing arena on the rooftop, look more like a stadium or little thing. And I'll show you that later on. I'll show you what I've done currently. And one idea I had, and I found that a lot of boxers do incline running, and the benefit of that is it's great for endurance, and obviously when you go uphill, you find that it's harder to walk, so you build a tolerance and in terms of stamina, etc. So that's what I plan. Well, that's one of my ideas that I plan to do. So yeah, the rooftop.
I like these sketches, man. They're rough and dirty.
That's how it is.
That's the way you gotta be. You should be doing 100 of these.
So yeah, like the running track will come from like the bottom floor all the way to the top outside the building, and then like the arena would go at the top of that bit.
Here's one bit of advice. That's one idea. Your first iteration is never the best. Never. It's probably the most honest, but it's never the best. That's what I've learned. There needs to be 100 of those.
Okay.
Keep drawing, because I think the worst thing we can do, and I know there's time constraints in uni, but you do one sketch, you do one resolution, do one solution, and suddenly you're like, yeah, that's it, done. That's the one, I'm going to commit to it. Suddenly you start modeling it, suddenly you start massing it, and then you're like, oh, okay, yeah, it doesn't work, fuck, what do I do? Shit, I'll just have to change the mass. So I start changing the mass. It's got nothing to do with the honest idea now.
It's so true.
This is why thinking through drawing, iterate.
Okay. So this was sketches that I done for my boxing arena. How one would come to work out. So you start from the bottom floor and then make your way up to the arena, and yeah.
It's lovely. It's a lovely drawing because this is honest. This is so honest. It's the idea you had that you were trying to explain.
Yeah.
The journey to the top.
Pretty much.
It's a bloody annoying journey, by the looks of it.
Yeah.
I'd much rather you converted that. You know how I talked about the spinal cord idea.
Yeah.
If you converted that detached tower into the elevator shaft, maybe there was a transparency to it. See how I didn't say glass? I could have said glass. But glass is a resolution.
Yeah,
I don't want to inflict resolutions on an early idea. So there's a level of transparency to it that when the people are in it, they can see I'm rising. Yeah. So you're thinking about the experience, you're thinking about the honesty of the concept, and you're finding ways to show that through some sort of diagram or whatnot, like you're doing here. But again, this is iteration number 1. This one on the right.
Yeah.
There should be 100 of these.
All right.
I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah.
100. Each one might take 30 seconds. One might take 2 hours. But you'll only be able to do that if you're having fun, and you'll only be able to have fun if it's honest to you.
Yeah.
You'll only be able to actually have proper fun with it if you're going to be confident. So if you ever find yourself, I'm not enjoying this, it's probably because you're not being honest with your design.
Valid point. Very valid point. Yeah, for my materials as well, or just an initial idea as well. I plan to keep the existing concrete, and one of the reasons is because I don't want it to be fancy or anything, because I feel like concrete, especially the concrete that was used in here. I'll just go back to the pictures of the renters. Yeah. Like, it's got a very unique, I don't want to say unique, I feel like it's got a good feel. And the reason is because when you look at boxing gyms, in movies, or even when you go to a normal boxing gym, I'm not saying it's not done up properly, but it's very raw. And it has a very certain character of being that raw, hard-working roughness, that's the word. And it shows that through concrete. And as this is a concrete building, I feel like it'll be a good...
There's something... You feel like it'll be quite a good...
a good reason to pick to continue that concrete building.
Okay, go back to your where the boxing gloves were.
Yeah.
All right, forget that this has been recorded. Forget that people might be watching this, whatever. Forget that. Look, just me and you, yeah? Just straight up. Why do you think concrete is good?
Well,
just be confident with your answer. Like, don't give a shit what I'm going to think or what I'm going to say. Boom. Because there's 2 things that can happen here, yeah? Either you're holding back because you don't really believe in what you're about to say, and you think it's a shit way of phrasing it. Yeah. Or you don't actually know why it's a good idea.
There's two parts to this,
yeah.
So I was looking at my tutor told me that Tadao Ando, he was a boxer as well, and I was trying to go through, like, he's done boxing, so I was looking at it in terms of his eyes, why, and he picks up a lot of concrete in his work, so I was seeing what he was doing, and obviously I actually love his work.
So you're being really honest right now.
No, I swear to God, I really like.
I know. I can tell. So this is what I meant early in the conversation. I was like, don't give me the whole tutor as if I'm a tutor. Talk to me like literally as if what's going through your mind when you. So so you saw Tadao Ando's stuff and the way he used concrete,
and he does it in. I don't want to use minimalistic, but it's He creates that feeling, that roughness. He creates feeling through what he does,
Yeah.
And that's one point. And the
Yeah.
other one is
Are you thinking of a reason?
no. I saw, generally, I think if you see Rocky 4 or 3, I think when Rocky Balboa goes to Creed's gym, you know how dark.
Okay.
You know how dark it is. It's very like picture actor, basically. That's what it was giving me. That gym. It was like his home.
Okay.
It was like the gym in the ghetto, and it was like, you better fix up, otherwise, because you got to win. Like, you can't lose. I don't know. That's what it was for me.
Boom. That reason right there is such a sick reason already. Instead of you going back and like explaining concrete's rough, it feels like it would work. You've explained, so a precedence. You've talked about the Rocky film and the mood of how when the viewer or the perspective went into it, it felt like there was a darkness to it, and almost like, this is the cave where you're going to fight and type. What I'm trying to say is, I'm not trying to like. I'm probably coming across really picky here, but I'm trying to like kind of show you in a way that you can be confident in the way you reason stuff. If you want to talk about Rocky as a movie for your precedent, do it. You don't have to talk about Canal and
Yeah.
You don't have to reference all this shit. Yeah, you be confident in what you're saying. You have amazing ideas, man. Be proud of that.
Thanks, man.
I was looking at this page, and instantly, first thing that jumped up to me was how you've got the hard materials on the left, and you got the soft on the right.
Yeah.
And I thought, you got a brutal, solid concrete building.
Yeah.
Imagine you made this inside spongy.
In terms of,
like, imagine your building itself remained as it was, because I have to assume that'll be quite relevant for you anyway, because you're in interiors. But then you took this idea. You're saying I'm emphasizing the juxtaposition. That word. The juxtaposition of this idea that it's hard on the outside but soft on the inside.
Oh, right.
And it's a symbol almost of these criminals who present themselves as they're hard on the outside, but they're actually soft on the inside. So that concept is going to run through my project, and I'm looking at the boxing glove as almost as a reference, because there's something symbolic about the glove itself. They fight each other, they hit each other, they hurt each other, but they do it in a soft way. They use soft materials. So that's informed my design concept to say, actually, my entire interior building, I'm going to look at using soft materials as much as I can.
Yeah.
And I'm going to juxtapose that with hard concrete. So maybe in the way you design this gym, there's a strong emphasis of soft sponginess going bang up against, contrasting against hard, solid, rough concrete.
Yeah.
And that's a statement on the state of these people.
That was amazing. That was really good.
Yeah, but it's there.
Yeah.
I feel like that was what it was kind of going in your head, but you need to keep resolving, keep iterating, because that probably would have emerged. And even then, you say it's amazing, but maybe it's not. Maybe 2 weeks from now, you're going to be like, actually, it's not that good. There's this idea that works better. It's constant.
Yeah.
But always look back to your narrative. And the narrative is what? It's that journey to the top.
Yeah.
What does this do? I'm thinking from the perspective of a typical gangster type figure who lost his way. Funnily enough, I've been listening to a lot of podcasts about ex-gangsters, and what their perspective would be on something like this.
Yeah.
So I would always come back to the occupant of the building, come back to the person who's going to be using this, and think, why the hell would they want to drink green tea in the middle of a boxing session?
I understand.
So yeah, let's go through the rest quickly, because we've passed an hour now.
I think that was it. That's it. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant!
I'll just quickly show you one. So I've done this not too long ago. It's a bit laggy.
Oh no, you started massing.
Massing?
You started massing? As in like doing 3D
Oh
modeling?
yeah, I know. But yeah, this was just a very startup drawing. Model.
Yeah.
It's just not
Computer's laggy.
laggy.
Are you going to show me that section?
Yeah.
What are you showing me? Yeah.
Okay, don't worry about the tea room.
I'm not worrying about it.
But yeah, this was trying to create that arena at the top.
Yeah, do you want to explain it? Or do you want to critique it?
I'll be honest, this was just start off. So, honestly, it was just random.
It's good. It's good that you're thinking about things spatially. It's good that you're thinking about it in terms of the programs of, the masses of the building. I have to always remind myself that you're an interior student, so the emphasis is on the inside, and I'm getting carried away thinking about architecture, but from the outside. But yeah, man, this is all part of the iterative process. You want to keep juggling back with your concept development and then your design development.
Yeah.
Remember that. Always juggling. Yeah. And if you're doing 3D stuff, which I would stay as far away from your 3D modeling as much as you can, as long as you can, until you have to jump into it. It's always going to be back and forth.
Yeah.
You've done this sectional study, you've got an understanding of scale maybe, although, okay, so that's just the top segment, so scale is fairly good. I would think about this, I would start with the diagram, because the diagram would summarize your concept, and I'm getting quite gassed about this spinal, what I mean when I say nervous system, because your nervous system is your brain stem down to your spinal cord. We're actually like these little horrible, our nervous system looks like a fucking alien sperm cell. It's scary. I shouldn't say horrible, but there's something quite nice about that idea, even the scariness of it being a parasite, that this thing kind of like goes and occupies buildings all over London, because your building is not the only building that has problems with the community and things like that. So it might please your, I don't know, interiors, maybe not, but it might please your critics, to see that you've made a kind of broader visual kind of speculation on the master plan, or like a broader vision. But I would stay away from the 3D modeling world for now, unless you want to use it as a reference for like axonometric drawings, or just to understand scale. Maybe that's good. But think of your building in its entirety and start to break down, like you're doing here. Maybe instead of it being this, it's the whole tower and this room as well. So you got this kind of inverted L. Yeah. And that's really strong, because even diagrammatically, you're showing this bit that goes up is the journey. Yeah. Find rituals, as I said earlier, that relate to that journey. Yeah. And then you're talking about now the experience of the actual boxing fighting. And maybe there's a journey down. So you got to think through that really, sometimes abstractly, sometimes referencing in things literally, and do some nice drawings, that show the diagram. Doing stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Whatever's going through your mind, represent that through a drawing.
Right.
Draw loads.
That's great. Yeah, cool.
I love your rough sketches, man. Take pride in them. Does that
Yeah,
help?
no, helped a lot. A
Yeah.
lot.
We're still friends.
No, of course. No, honestly, I'd rather have someone be honest. I don't like people being, like holding back. I'd rather hear it straight.
Good.
Stuff is not right. It's not
Good.
right. If you don't feel,
Yeah.
even opinion, like just tell me what you
Yeah.
feel.
100%. I'm glad, man.
Yeah.
And it's exciting stuff.
Yeah.
If you stop your screen share, we can conclude. So yeah, that's the first time I've tried this kind of live tutorial thing. I think there's many benefits to it. One, I'm able to actually sit down with you for an hour because it's mutually beneficial because I can use this for content. But at the same time, it's able to help other people.
Yeah.
But what's also really cool is if I put this on YouTube, I think I will. If anyone disagrees with my advice, maybe someone more qualified or someone with better ideas, they can comment, and you can keep coming and checking, and you can get critiqued by loads of people. Yeah. And it's not critique, you know what I mean? It's nice. It's almost like a little community kind of trying to help you. I don't know if people will comment, but please, if you're watching this, feel free to comment,
Will do.
disagree with me, leave a comment for Tahir, and yeah, man. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you, man.
And
Thank you.
till next time, if there is one.
Yeah. I'll give you an update. I'll see how it goes, and I'll see what my tutor says. I'll update you.
Nice one.
All right. Salam.